Matt here again. Today I'm here to talk about Toney Freeman and the rather exceptional tenure he's had as a professional bodybuilder since turning pro in 2002 when he won the Nationals Super Heavyweight and the overall title. Toney has been pretty exceptional given that at that time he was 36 years old. Now he's 48 years old. His birthday will be August 30th. He'll be turning 49, which I think is pretty amazing that he's had this sort of a run as a bodybuilder. It's pretty crazy when you think about it compared to other bodybuilders, and there's been a few, granted, who have been able to have long careers like this, but it's crazy to me because I don't see too many signs of him slowing down. Toney has won 7 pro contests in his day and is still going pretty strong, I would have to say. This photo is by Ron Avidan from the Arnold Classic. I think that this particular photo, as well as a few more that Ron took, are just a little bit blurry, so it's hard to judge his condition perfectly, but he still is in very good shape, as you can see from this shot. Front double bicep shot, again, a little bit blurry, but it still goes to show that Toney has the mass that I think he's had, basically, I wouldn't say since turning pro, because he's put on a bit of size since then, but since, say, some years between now and the time that he turned pro, in that time frame, he sort of peaked at his maximum weight, and he still is pretty close to it. I know he's competed pretty heavy before. I believe as heavy as around 287 pounds at 6'2". Other times he's been in the 270s and maybe even in the 260s. It all depends on the reports that you read, but it seems to me like Toney is pretty close to that weight here. Now in this front lats shot, I think that I sort of got the impression that this might have been down a touch from previous years. Not so much in the legs or the lower body, but in the upper body, I think that I've seen his shoulders and his chest pop a little bit more. I think I've seen the delts chest tie-in just a little bit fuller before. Possibly his arms in this pose just a tiny bit thicker than they are here. But mainly what jumps out at me here would be the fact that his chest isn't jumping out the way that I've seen it before. Or maybe it could just be due to how he's posing, for that matter. I'm not exactly sure. But I think I've seen him a little better in that particular aspect of this shot. But otherwise, he does look pretty good and is pretty close to his best. Same shot, posing it in a way that pops his chest just a little bit more. And I would say that posing may definitely be a part of it. It's hard to say if it's the entire issue here with the pop, or maybe the relative lack of 3D in this shot compared to previous versions of Toney, but it might play a role. This side chest shot, not as blurry as the other photos, and I think you can see pretty clearly how crispy he is here, and it looks to me like he has quite a bit of fullness in this shot, maybe just because the quality of the photo is better. Hard to say if I've seen his hamstrings a little bigger in the past, potentially, but still pretty close to his usual excellent showings. Back double biceps pose. I think that the back poses have always been strong poses for Toney, specifically because his back is so good. Granted, the legs are also judged from the back, although his legs are good too. The strength in this pose would be his upper body, I would say. His glutes might not have the striations of some competitors, but they still are in condition. They're not exactly soft glutes. They just don't really show the visible striations as other competitors, but he is conditioned pretty all around here, and of course his back, as I said, is pretty spectacular. Rear lat spread, and it's hard to say if this, like the front lat spread, might boil down to posing. If I were to say that I think I've seen him look a little better in this pose before, but that might just boil down to posing. It's really hard to say, but it might be that his back has dropped in size a little tiny bit, or some very minor sort of micro tears or injuries have added up over the years. Not in any way that you can visibly see it, but just a gradual sort of decline in physique quality that I think comes for anybody with age, but it's hard to say, and I'm really sort of being nitpicky to even say that. So, and sort of the point of this video is to show that Toney hasn't really come down that much with age, but maybe just a touch in some shots, but or he might just be posing a bit off, or he might just be a little bit off in this contest. It's really hard to say, and that's what I find so interesting about Toney. It's really hard to say if he's been aging at all. Now this, yet another very clear shot, and this is where, again, even, as I said, photo quality might play a role here. I think that in this very crisp shot by Ron Avidan of GetBig.com, which he posted for Bodybuilding.com, you can see that he is looking extremely conditioned here, and you see it in the upper body. The lighting is good, the quads are conditioned, you can see the light on his abs. It's just the vascularity is there, so this pose really looks closer to Toney at his best. Most muscular, I think I've seen maybe Toney's shoulders a little bit more striated in this shot. Perhaps his arms have been a little, just a touch bigger than they are here, maybe. Legs still look pretty huge, and overall I think that this is still pretty good. So again, it's hard for me to make a determination as to whether he's slid in terms of quality, but if so, it's just been a little bit. Maybe his placing has been better in the past at the Arnold. I know at this point I've been to 5 Arnolds, and I've seen him perform also at other contests as well, and I know he's looked better than this, but it could just be that his place seemed dropped in this contest, where he took 10th due to the caliber of the competition ahead of him. It could possibly be due to a little bit of a slide in physique quality. It could be a number of these things, but he still looks pretty good in this pose regardless of whether or not he has looked a little better before. Now this shot is from the 2015 Arnold Classic Australia. Since the light is a lot brighter in this contest, I think you can more clearly see that Toney is still looking pretty good. He's perhaps a little bit fuller, but it might just be the lighting, but I still think this was a good contest for him, and these are really good pictures. Back double biceps pose. With the brighter light, I think I can tell that Toney is not quite as conditioned here as he had been in the past. I know I've seen more condition in his lower body for sure. So his upper body still looks pretty close, maybe down just a little touch in size, but at least with a better quality photo I can make a better assessment of that. But still, always a very good pose for Toney. Once again, with very good lighting, you can see the quality in this photo. One hand on hip and the other hand clasped in a most muscular variation. Good lower body, not really any loose skin or anything not really any major signs of age that I can tell. Without nitpicking, I would say that he looks pretty young here, pretty fresh, pretty crisp, and everything is popping. So it's pretty close to the best I've ever seen him at this particular pose, at least for sure. So it looks pretty good, and I would say that Toney still has some competitive days left should he wish to pursue that. I'll leave this photo here of Toney because I think it's a good one. I've actually had the fortune of being able to interview Toney at the 2012 Arnold Classic. I was later able to meet up with him at the Toronto Pro and interview him there. You can check out those interviews on my channel. If you just search in the Fitness by Matt main page, you can find those interviews. He's a really good person in my opinion, a very respectable guy. Toney has described himself as a lover, not a fighter. He described that in a Joe Goes episode where Joe went to the LA Fit Expo and he was able to get an interview with Toney. And later on I got the idea, I wonder maybe I can walk up to him. I mean, he seems pretty big dude. A lot of people would be intimidated, but just a really nice guy. I wish Toney the best. I hope that competitive bodybuilding is a pretty tough thing. It's hard on the body, it's strict. It is something where clearly you put your health on the line a little bit, and I wish Toney the best in all other avenues in his life. I do hope that he has other things in his life going well, that bodybuilding aren't taking him too much away from it. Any comments or questions, please leave them below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching.